I know that when you see Madam Web, you're gonna love it. In fact, I think you're gonna see it twice.
I just saw it twice. Madam Web is a movie that's in theaters right now and in everyone's search box because everyone's talking about it, but how did we get here? How is it the song of the summer? I'll tell you, but we'll have to go back to the very beginning. In the 1890s, the medium of film was forever altered with the arrival of a train at La Syonide station. Then Morbius was made, thus concluding cinema.
I love Morbius.
So full transparency, I've been on hiatus this whole year so far, mainly because I'm in college and I've also been working on a video that's probably gonna be about an hour long. However, everyone unanimously voted for me to break that hiatus because this movie is just so bad, I can't not talk about it, right? The problem is, everyone already feels the exact same way. There's people dunking on the movie, actual critical reviews, people calling it woke because there's women in it. What I'm saying is I am far from the first person to talk about this movie. But from what I can tell, no one else has been dumb enough to see this movie twice. And yes, I said no one else because I am the first reviewer that I know of to willingly see this movie 2 times. I'd be willing to bet the editor hasn't even seen it that many times. So what even is Madam Web? I'm glad you asked because I'm about to get to the review portion of this video. Day 1, Sunday, February 18th, 2024. On February 18th, I took 4 of my good friends to see the definition of cinema in theaters. But not just any theater, we're seeing it in IMAX. But not just any IMAX theater, we're seeing it in the world's tallest IMAX theater, and we were so excited on the drive there.
I was expecting not great, to be honest with you.
I just need to prepare myself for anything and everything.
When you invited me to see Madam Web, I was decently excited, okay?
Whenever it's a superhero movie, I have to bring the bar low. And this one, it did go under the bar, even though I set it very low.
Awesome.
It like just went like right underneath.
The Rotten Tomatoes score was roughly 12%, and I knew this was going to be abysmal.
I'm a big comic guy. I know the character, and I know I've seen the trailers. Obviously, not gonna be great.
Holy shit, we're gonna watch it in the biggest IMAX movie screen and the world.
You're a natural on camera. And we were so confident that when we got there, there was gonna be like no one else in the theater. So we go to buy the tickets and we learn they're $23. $23 for one showing of Madam Web, please.
My jaw dropped. It was on the floor. Not only the bar was on the floor, my jaw was on the floor with it.
I did not want to spend that much money on Madam Web.
I was thinking, poor Aiden. He seems to be taking this really hard.
So when I found out that the IMAX ticket for the biggest IMAX screen that we could ever find was gonna be $23, I was guffawed, I guessed.
The theater was near empty. I could have saw Madam Web like 4 times with the amount of money that I mean, plus tax, probably even 5 times with the amount of money that I spent.
So we all swallow the $23 fee and we take our seats and we are the only people there. Not for long though, because other people bought it because it's the IMAX showing of Madam Web. It's an event. So we all sit down, not with bowls of popcorn because we just spent $23 on this. The lights begin to dim. Madam Web starts. And this might be one of the most captivating movies I've ever covered in my life, and I'm so excited to summarize it for you. So any good movie needs a good first scene, and luckily for us, Madam Web perfects this. Basically, they're trying to find fun spiders in the Amazon, and I hope she doesn't die, that would suck. The movie starts out with the perfect tone setter with Miss Web and her co-worker Ezekiel, and they speak like humans.
The peptides in the spider's venom, they supercharge their cellular structure.
That spider can give superhuman strength and power like Las Arañas.
Mythical spider people who run across the treetops and punish evil men with their black poison touch. I like to base my research in science, not legends, Mr. Sims.
My best description of this scene is that it's like an 8th grade play, but done with real actors. Anyways, Miss Web finds the funny spider, and Ezekiel immediately kills every volunteer and Miss Web at the campsite. And the entire time during this action-packed cinema scene, we have these intense MLG-era camera zooms. And sorry to spoil this for my second viewing, this is in nearly every CGI enhanced shot, and it's beautiful and more atrocious every time you notice it. So as Miss Web dies and Ezekiel skedaddles off, these web men descend from the trees with the noise of a gunshot that totally wasn't annoying in IMAX. So they bring her back to Cum Lake or whatever this is called, and she dies via childbirth, which admittedly makes me laugh every viewing. What kills me about it is it looks like they're pulling her baby away from her as she dies. Also, one of them says that he'll be waiting for her when she comes to find answers, and I'm asking, what answers? I'm glad you asked, because that's where the rest of our story takes place, in 2003. We see that this baby has become Cassie Webb, who is a very stressed EMT that is almost hitting every single New Yorker on the road. In this ambulance is also Ben Parker, who shares some very New York dialogue with Cassie.
I wouldn't want you to be homesick for the Army.
Never thought I'd be this happy to be back in Queens.
Wait, you've never been shot at in Queens?
This dialogue sounds more unnatural than my dialogue in Spider Goon, where I make all New Yorkers just say bodega and hot dog because I know nothing else about New York. You should watch that video, by the way. No one watched it. Anyways, they save the stepmother of Sydney Sweeney, and they both react like they've never seen a child before. That whole like stepfather scene is like whatever, but something that was funny on first viewing was this interaction between Ben and Cassie, where Cassie just randomly shouts, "Ah!"
We both hate family stuff.
And then Ben announces that he's been seeing someone, leading to the greatest love interaction ever put to cinema.
What's this one's name? Oh, serious. She's a lucky lady, Ben.
And that's how you know Ben's in love. But we also know Cassie's depressed because she keeps whipping out 4K quality Polaroids of her mother while also whipping out the coveted milk from Milk. Anyways, after mourning and resenting her mother for being pregnant in the Amazon for the last month of her pregnancy, she joins her mother via falling car. So in this death scene, we see a lot of things that will be iconic to Madam Web, such as the web, shattered glass, S, the iconic Madam Web S. Anyways, Cassie wakes up as Ben checks her oxygen levels, but that's not important. What is important is that every single time Cassie has a vision, it comes with a very loud, violent gunshot-like noise that rattled the IMAX system.
Come back in the water anytime.
An active shooter could have been in the theater and we would not have noticed.
I think I was screaming after, where I was saying something, because it felt like my ears were just like ringing with how loud the random gunshots that were being played throughout were like ringing in my ears after I was having the PTSD that was happening.
And because of that, the first time I saw this scene, I thought Ben killed her again by ripping off the contraption on her wrist. I mean, what else am I supposed to gather from this? So Cassie Webb is celebrating being alive again, and she goes to Mary's baby shower for baby Peter Parker. But I'm more interested about what happens outside with O'Neill, aka Burger Guy, because that's his entire personality.
Next time you want to go swimming, maybe you should stick to Astoria Park.
Oh, that's really funny. You're such a funny guy. Are you pressing the burger?
He's pressing the burger again. That's it. He loves pressing the burger. He loves to laugh, probably. And oh yeah, also Jersey.
Well, actually, I saw Jersey, so you tell me.
Come on, you saw Jersey. Jersey, Joe.
Whatever that reference is, we never find out.
You pressing the burgers again.
So Burger Guy's the best character in the movie, but anyways, in the next scene, he drives for 3 seconds and then immediately dies. No, he was my favorite character. He had like 2 minutes total of spoken dialogue. No. Anyways, Madam Web is tripped up because she was seeing visions of O'Neill dying before he got pancaked, but she couldn't do anything because she was like, I'm tripping out. So she goes to the doctor to get her eyes checked out, like the comics, to which the doctor gives her some great medical advice.
Get some rest. Watch old movies.
So Madam Web avoids Burger Guy's funeral while watching old movies and says a line that tripped both me and Pablo up.
Editing Tony here, I don't have footage of it, but she like looks at like Scrooge or whatever and she says so heartfeltly, "You can't change anything, Scrooge." And then she immediately changes the future.
This is when Pablo started to bring up consistently that the writers probably thought they were cooking so hard, and they are. So now we get to what I consider to be the biggest scene of the movie, the train car scene. I don't think I've mentioned it so far, but there's this guy, Ezekiel, who was, you know, in the Amazon researching spiders with her before she died. And because he stole the spider, there's a curse on him, and he sees visions of how he's gonna die, and he keeps seeing these 3 girls. So Madam Web and the 3 girls are all now on the same train, which is unfortunate for the girls because Ezekiel is trying to hunt down these girls to kill them before, you know, they kill him, because, you know, the girls are gonna get powers and the girls are gonna kill him, the girls. And, you know, he had no one helped his family when they were starving. I'm gonna really go into that day too, but all this man says is,
I have no idea what those girls are coming.
So we just see that, but Cassie can't control her powers just yet, so she sees visions of Ezekiel just murking these girls without his suit on in public, which means he'll almost certainly be arrested. He's preventing his death, but spending the rest of his life in jail. Sounds awesome. But this scene also gives us one of the best lines in the entire movie.
New York City's a whole new level of crazy these days.
Is it too much to say that the side characters are the only good characters in this movie? So Cassie prevents 9/11 too and pulls the 3 girls off the train, saving the girls from certain death. However, that's not the end of it for the girls, as Ezekiel becomes Spider Cuck. Spider Cuck is what Dillon angrily called him on the drive home. Apparently, I have a hot take that I think this spider suit is actually the best part of this movie. In fact, the costumes, when they show up, are all sick as hell. The costume designer, Nyla Dixon, did a fantastic job with this suit and the other spider suits. I can also say it's great while also calling him BDSM Spider-Man. That's just what I say. So during the escape from Spider Cuck, Madam Web gets handcuffed, but then Spider Cuck kills the police, so Madam Web is no longer handcuffed. It's awesome. And after they run out through the secret front entrance, they steal a taxi that becomes her vehicle for the rest of the movie.
Good. Hope they find his crazy ass.
But the problem is, the police didn't see BDSM Spider-Man. They think Cassie stole the girls. You know, the ones with power. So they go into Fun Forest to debrief. And in this forest, they learn they're all connected in some way. Madam Web saved Julia's stepmom. Madam Web lives in Anya's building. Madam Web almost flattened Maddie, plus they're also all orphans, but I don't care about this character development. You wanna know what I do care about? Cassie says, I need 3 hours, and she leaves the girls there to deliver exposition via cat.
Las Arañas. Have you ever heard of Las Arañas? Me neither.
It's awesome. Regardless, after Cassie finally returns from her 3-hour cat detour, it's pitch black night.
Girls!
It's pitch black night and the 3 girls are missing. But where did they go?
I can't wait to talk about the worst scene in the movie. You definitely know we've talked about this before, and it's definitely diner scene.
This scene baffled us to no end, particularly because these girls are supposed to be off the grid because Spider-Cuck is trying to kill them and track them down via like high-tech security or whatever. The way I describe him is it's like Watch Dogs, where instead of trying to avenge your niece, he's trying to kill 3 nieces. Anyways, when they get to the diner, Maddie needs to eat because she's hangry or whatever. And she also orders like 9 plates of food, but eats 3 fries total. Forget all that. That's not the issue with the scene. The issue with the scene are what I like to call the diner boys. So while Anya and Maddie are arguing about cherry pie or whatever, Julia heads over to the diner boys due to their W-Riz, and Maddie joins them to dance on top of the fun diner table. Like all teenage girls love to do. In fact, also the diner boys are so coordinated too because they move the seasoning packets off the table in unison as they dance to Toxic by Britney Spears because it's 2003. So Madam Web angrily storms in because she told them to stay there in the forest, even though she took like 6 hours to get back. But then Spider-Cuck storms into the diner. Oh no. So to show that he's angry, he kills a random guy, then kills the girls that are gonna kill him in the future because they're girls with the powers and you know, also this is like the only cool shot in the entire movie when he literally flips up and he walks on the ceiling.
Also, I want to preface that the best scene in the movie is literally like 30 seconds long. And we see it in the trailer anyway. I also want to say that he just kills a guy because he wanted to.
Yeah.
Coolest villain.
He eventually comes back down after killing Julia and Maddie, and then he strikes the final blow in Madam Web to reset the timeline, and she's back to where she was. And just in case you forgot what year this movie takes place in,
This track is going to be huge. Are you in the zone? This is Britney Spears.
this song is gonna be huge. The writers were cooking. I imagine the screenwriters of Morbius are like, how do we make the audience remember that in 2003? Britney Spears' Toxic was huge.
Editing Tony back, I just have to say that in some research, because I wanted to like fact check and see if there's any funny thing I could bring up about Toxic by Britney Spears, and I found Britney Spears' album In the Zone. The album came out November 2003. However, Toxic didn't come out as a single until January 2004. Which means one of 2 things. Either this movie takes place in maximum November 2003, which it just doesn't. Look at the forest scene, that is like at least September. Or this movie's anachronistic and trying to be cool and saying that Madam Web is like splitting alternate timelines. And no, they aren't. They just researched and said, oh, Britney's album came out in 2003. That should work. Also, I could be wrong about this. It's like 3 a.m.
So Cassie floors it down the interstate as she somehow loses the foot race to the 4-star diner, even though in the last timeline, she made it there first on foot. Anyway, Spider-Cuck walks in to intimidate the girls, but Madam Web floors it into the diner, drilling Spider-Cuck into the wall. And as the girls escape death, forget all of that because there's a week-long blockage in the script where Madam Web goes to fucking Peru to play GeoGuessr in real life. And when she finally gets there and 5Ks it, the guy who delivered her as a baby is there to greet her, and he gives us 2 of the funniest parts in the entire movie. If I haven't brought it up yet, Cassie resents her mother for dying during childbirth because she was deep in the Amazon researching spiders when she died, or however the trailer line went. But we get to finally see what really happened. We get to see why she went to the Amazon.
I'm sorry to tell you that your baby has myasthenia gravis. It's a genetic neuromuscular disorder.
But I don't have a neuromuscular disorder.
Life expectancy.
That line delivery is the funniest delivery I've ever heard in my life, and if this movie was made shit on purpose, which I know it wasn't, it would be a masterpiece of satire. Also, the other amazing thing about this scene is that we get this beautiful line delivery. You know how Spider-Man always gets told to some variant, with great power comes great responsibility? Even though Sony owns the rights to Spider-Man, they butchered the shit out of that line.
You are the only one who can change the future. And when you take on the responsibility, great power will come.
And this is when Dillon started having a mental breakdown next to me, cursing at the movie under his breath for the next 2 minutes.
The worst part of the entire movie, they decide they want to use the grand old line, with great power comes great responsibility. Although they can't say it, even though they own Spider-Man, they like can't say the direct line, so they say whatever. So they just kind of took it through a translator and just kind of see what came out. And then after they butcher the line, the weird Dillon comes back in the next shot, going,
"Those girls could not exist and will try to destroy me.
I gotta kill these girls. I gotta kill them." But she'd been saying that the entire movie. That's like all of his lines were about how I gotta kill these girls.
These girls have powers.
Anyways, we're at the climax of this movie, and Mary's water breaks, and they gotta hustle and bustle to the hospital. There's only like a few highlights in the scene, but I'll list them out. I love how they throw the pregnant woman in the back seat, which is really funny to me. Make her do extra work to get out of the car. I also love when they blow up the pregnant woman. I may have laughed a little too hard on first viewing of that. Anyways, Maddie completely forgets the advice to lay low because, you know, they're using cameras to find them, and Spider-Cuck intercepts them with the car, which is where the exploding pregnant woman shit happens. But Cassie makes it in time and floors the ambulance out of the Calvin Klein thing and hits him in midair. And I want you to hold on to that for the second viewing. Just hold on to that. I'm also losing steam here. I'm summarizing the ending here because it's all mush. I mean, they're in a firework death trap where one of the fireworks shoots a human-sized hole in the nick of time. They fight Spider-Cuck as Madam Web webs all over the place to save the 3 girls, and then we get the beautiful climax where Spider-Cuck finally gets his comeuppance.
You've been trying to change your future, but the girls were never your future. I was.
Then Spider-Cuck falls to his death as the iconic Madam Web S doesn't kill him, but the P does. Because this movie can't do anything right. Anyways, Madam Web falls into the ocean. She gets bitched by a firework. The girls resuscitate her by doing CPR on her to save the day. And she wakes up and she's blind now. And they do this reveal like it's an Avengers reveal. Oh my God, like the comic, I love movies. Anyways, Madam Web is now in the hospital, blind and insinuated to be paralyzed from the waist down, at least for now. And it's been kind of like a found family movie, but they haven't really set any of it up. And the girls are all by her side where this happens.
Are you all immediate family?
Yes. They're all mine.
Now, my first viewing, I had been as respectful as I possibly could to my fellow moviegoers, trying to stifle my laughter at every point. But this broke me so hard, I couldn't even contain it. I was out loud cackling like a hyena. And that was the perfect viewing. Everyone enjoyed it and everyone loved it.
I felt like I lost something.
Exhausted.
I felt dumbfounded. I want to say betrayed, but I don't think that would be true.
The experience of seeing Madam Web for the first time, or for the only time, for me at least, dead. Like, I was watching the screen and I made a few faces of like confusion. All I could think about was the fact that I could have spent $12 to see Madam Web and laugh, but instead we spent $23 to see Madam Web on the biggest screen possible. This is my first time seeing like an IMAX movie to that degree, and the movie it was Madam Web, so that my first experience is tainted forever.
This was truly what I was expecting to come into, and that's what I got. And also, there was a funny ass fucking up pixelated, and that just sparked so much joy.
Everyone loved it. Time for day 2. Day 2, Sunday, February 25th, 2024. So unfortunately, from the group of 5 on the first Saturday, Pablo was the only one to agree to go with me a second time to see Madam Web. But luckily, I brought my buddy Log, who wanted to see it with me.
We're about to see Madam Web. Log in the back here. This is his first time ever seeing Madam Web.
I'm so excited.
Honestly, on my way there, I was just thinking, like, I heard it was really bad. I honestly thought it was going to be very boring, but worth watching for the culture.
Yeah, this is my second time as well.
This is Pablo's second time, and I'm seeing it again, so it's gonna be very exciting.
Now we can finally understand the highbrow masterpiece this really is.
Yeah, exactly. It is beautiful, I think, and it is a movie. What were we talking about, though? Okay, we were equating it to Morbius. It was, like, fun and boring. Is that what you were saying?
Okay, so, yeah, I haven't seen Morbius.
I've seen it
But
twice.
what I know is that it sucks.
And with Madam Web, with Madam Web, it is so bad that your brain can't keep up.
It's like fun. I can't wait.
It's a Log before we go in. What is your take on Madam Web?
I'm gonna be so excited to see this. Like, I've been waiting ever since I saw the marketing where it's like, oh, you're gonna want to see this twice. I'm excited. I'm definitely gonna watch this twice within my lifetime.
Baby's first Madam Web. So when we get to the theater to buy our tickets, a few things have changed. Opening weekend had 3 showings, especially one in IMAX. And also in those showings was really like 5 to 15 people max. However, today, there's only 1 showing and the theater is absolutely packed because of it. I guess Georgia is slowly turning into webheads, which included the 3 of us who were so excited.
It shows your credit card information.
No. I also noticed that like 10 minutes into the movie that their air conditioning unit was running overtime throughout the movie. Any emotional beat in the movie was soundtracked by the air conditioning unit going awesome. Also, it took us like 10 minutes to try and find the theater because it was just not labeled at all. But we were so excited to see Madam Web.
When we went, it was actually pretty full, very surprisingly full.
There was a family that was making barbecue wings the entire movie. So the movie starts and I'm realizing, oh my God, I'm here for a second time, which of course means I get to see the opening scene again. Seeing the opening scene is like a wet hug from a friend you've never met before because it's so abrasive. But what I loved about it is I got to see Log's firsthand reaction to the write-in.
Basically, they supercharged their cellular structure.
How did you feel about the first scene?
First scene was fucking incredible. I loved how the mom was just like, oh yeah, spiders. Ah, it's the baby. And you don't even really see that she's pregnant for most of the buildup.
She goes, the spiders are really important. We really need to like fix them. And he was like, when are you gonna do this? I really need these spiders. I know, because these spiders are really important.
Log, you pointed out something great. Yeah. I think she's more pregnant in the water than any other shot.
It's medium close-ups up until she says ow, and then they like back out. Stop doing the stupid zoom stuff.
Like, the more you think about this movie, the worse it gets, and the most insane it gets, because it's not something like, what, they're going to pay, like, it's not crazy in that way. It's crazy in the way that, why are people behaving like this? They're not, that's not how people behave.
We get more information about the whereabouts of Ezekiel Sims, and to show his power, they show him at the Royal Ball, which I first thought was Madam Web's home for half a second. He's just like, I'm gonna go home and watch Idol, and then it cuts to the Royal Ball, and I was like, holy shit, she upgraded. So in a relatively quiet scene, we see Ezekiel pass this woman a pamphlet, and it rizzes her up so much that they have underwear sex. But the most important part of this scene is that we finally see Ezekiel's vision of his fate. And it is so funny.
Where's my spider? They took my spider.
Where's my spider? My spider! Where's my spider? Also, I can't be the only one who thinks this looks like Hassan Piker with a shitty gray wig. Please, someone else agree. Ezekiel sees how he's gonna die due to these 3 spider girls. You know, the girls with powers, the powers to kill him, and the girls with the powers, and they're gonna use those powers to kill him. If it sounds like I'm repeating that 70%, that's because that's 70% of his dialogue.
Find those women now before they get their powers. But in the future, they have power. Those girls cannot exist. I need to stop them from killing me. I have 3 teenagers hidden for a week. And in the future, they also have powers.
Girls have powers.
I came from nothing, less than nothing.
Girls!
I cannot hear the word girls the same anymore. It sounds like mush. So he wakes up after fun underwear sex, screaming and claiming that he's gonna be murdered, and the woman he just fucked reacts like a human.
It's not a dream. I'm gonna be murdered one day. Oh, wow, that's a buzzkill.
That's a bummer. Women. Screenwriters of Morbius killing it like always. The most important part of this scene is that he rizzed her up to steal her NSA password so he can access the latest and greatest tracking technology to find these girls. And of course, he kills her to steal it by, you know, poisoning her with his bare hands. By touching her and holding her. Did he just air hump her during fun sex? I only really started to marinate on that on my second viewing because my main thing I noticed in the first viewing is that at least half of his lines are ADR'd.
You have no idea of the torment and torture of dying over and over again. Less than nothing. I will not give up everything I've built.
Like, there's only 1 visible line he says per scene. And even when you do see him saying it, it doesn't match up with his lips at all. Everything else is said from the back of his head, so I can only imagine what went wrong there. Did the actor's love short circuit every single scene? Was his performance dog shit poopy ass? Was the script changing just every second on set? What the hell went wrong? This leads me to what I believe truly happened. Let me tell you a story about studio interference. There is no way that this was the director's unaltered vision. She's directed episodes for Succession, Turn, Orange is the New Black, all to rave reviews to prove that she can run a set. Dakota Johnson may be an acquired taste for some, but I find her to be a very funny person who managed to out Ellen as a terrible person, so I respect her tenfold for that. Not to mention, there are a lot of talented people on the screen. All three of the girls with powers have proven themselves in previous material. The editor edited the last 2 Spider-Man movies, and there's a stunt guy named Michael Papa John. Is that his fucking name? What I'm saying is, there was a lot of talent on the cast and crew, and I think the executives at Sony kept going, but I think this idea would be perfect. I have an idea. This idea would be perfect on the train, and
New Year's a whole new level of crazy these days.
And they were wrong every single time. Anyways, back to this flawless calzone of a movie. Okay, we're at the train scene, and I need to ask something. Is Spider-Cuck's plan to walk up to these girls in broad daylight, murder them without a suit, and walk away scot-free? I mean, he's so focused on these girls with powers that are gonna kill him. Whatever his plan is, he's the goat.
Okay, find his crazy ass.
Anyways, I'm kind of not processing anything until we get to the diner scene. Now that we're back here, I really need to mention something. As Madam Web and her webettes floor off to safety, we see Spider-Cuck walk out of the diner with his mask off, even though he basically tried to kill people when he was there. Now, I know this is a new timeline or whatever, but he still tried to poison Cassie in broad daylight. Why the fuck is he linking himself to the scene?
There is so much to unpack.
Yeah.
Every character decision makes no sense. It's so funny.
Hey, the screenwriters of Morbius, man.
You can tell.
Also, when Cassie visits this place in her visions, we find that the 4-star diner was an active crime scene like 4 hours ago that has no police present to monitor it to make sure there's no ne'er-do-wells or hooligans. But you wanna know what is there to block off the hooligans? One caution tape. Anyways, we're back to Peru for the best line.
But I don't have a neuromuscular disorder.
And the second time we viewed this, when that scene happened, my buddy Log leaned over to me and he said, I'm glad I could finally learn the origin of Madam Web. I didn't know what happened. They just replay the opening of the movie with different music. It's so good. Anyways, we're gonna fast forward through all of this because all this man says is girls and girls with power. So let's go back to the ambulance scene. You remember how Cassie rams the ambulance out of the parking garage to hit Spider-Cuck as he jumps midair? But on reflection, if he just didn't do that, he'd blow up the pregnant woman and the girls, succeeding in his plan to kill them.
Are you all immediate family?
Immediate family? Yeah. What was the worst part of the entire movie to you?
Oh, I'm gonna go and say the ending, because it just kind of ended. It's just like, I don't know how to explain this, but it just felt like the tone switched. And it was just like, this is my family. It's like you did literally kidnap these kids. Like, let's be real. Like, they were just kind of rude and didn't listen to you the whole time, and now they're like living with you, I guess.
Because she is blind.
It felt like the writers kind of came in and were like, oh god, how do we conclude this? How do we...
Seeing Madam Web twice was such a trip that we had to debrief afterwards.
I feel drained emotionally, physically, but don't regret it.
It's not as funny as it was the first time.
It's not as funny as it was the first time. Madam Web, I would give that 10 webs out of 10.
I would give it 7 out of 10. Some friend actually gave it that.
Oh yeah, yeah. Pablo's
That's core unironically.
Pablo's friend unironically gave that a 7.
I give it an S for the S.
I give it. I'll give it a P for Madam Web.
Yeah.
I'll give it a T for the girls. The girl powers and I have power. I have power and you don't.
Now that I've seen it twice, my formal review of Madam Web is the first viewing was the funniest. Despite that, I saw the movie and still had a great time with my buddies, but I need to come clean about something that I've hidden from you, something that I've lied about.
So, while my character in the movie may be able to see the future, I also can. And I know what the future brings.
Do you, Dakota? Do you really know what the future brings?
That when you see Madam Web, you're gonna love it. In fact, I think you're gonna see it twice.
I did love the movie. I did see it twice. But there's a twist I have that not even Madam Web herself could have seen coming. The title of this video is a lie. I did not see this movie twice. Because I saw it thrice. I saw Madam Web 3 fucking times. In fact, the footage you've been seeing with Log and Pablo, that was my third viewing, because on Thursday, February 22nd, I saw Madame Web alone to hopefully get a vacant theater experience, and it was not an easy commute.
There's lane closures. I have to go to Madame Web.
I bought one matinee showing for the 12:45 p.m. slot, and I hustled and bustled there. So after fighting against Georgia traffic, I finally got to the cinema, and I hustled to the auditorium because the showing was starting right as I got there, where I quickly learned that once again, there was no one there to confirm that I bought a ticket for Madame Web. So I'm walking to the theater, happy as a clam, but then I noticed something horrifying.
Wait a second. Am I gonna walk in late?
My ticket said 12:45 p.m., but this showing right here is 12 p.m. Did they print the wrong ticket? How could this be? I spent $9 on my ticket. I can't miss Madame Web. I'd rather blow up a preschool. Don't clip that. Sure, I could just walk into the theater that I clearly paid for, but I've missed like 40 minutes of the movie. I can't do that. I need to see this with my own eyeballs. What went wrong? So I asked the one worker I finally ran into, and he gave me an answer.
I went to the wrong theater.
Yeah, it turns out there's an identical theater that's a mile away from this one, but similar seating styles, but that movie has long since started, so I just bought a new ticket. So I bought another $9 matinee ticket for the 1:30 p.m. slot. This worried me because, you know, now I'm gonna risk more people being in the theater with me. And I kept checking. However, not a single soul was also seeing Madame Web at 1:30 p.m. on a Thursday. So I had so much fun in the theater all on my own.
Shit, I don't know the answer. D.
Anyways, it finally died down and the movie was just about to start and it was still just me in the theater, exactly what I wanted. But then two separate families walked in right as the movie started, meaning I couldn't have my own private Madame Web viewing party and laugh out loud at my favorite lines, which made me very sad. If I hadn't mentioned it already, seeing this movie for a second time really allows you to process the story and catch up on some of your favorite lines you missed before, including one from my favorite character. When Cassie and Ben save the stepmother of Sydney Sweeney, her family gets asked the beautiful question that I love so much.
Are you all immediate family?
No fucking way. It's the same actor, I think. It was also kind of the only new thing I really noticed, as I had been laughing at the absurdity of the entire movie to hear that. All I know is that I had a whale of a time seeing my favorite movies all over again. I sure hope Mrs. Webb doesn't die this time. Shit. Oh my god, girls, you three are so crazy. I love Britney Spears is toxic too. Hey, those girls will have powers one day, Spider-Cuck. Go get them, Spider. It was like having my own visions, except I was not doing anything to change them because I was the only one dumb enough to see this movie 3 times. Not even any of my friends wanted to come with me on this day. It just kind of ends with them now being a family. She really did kidnap those kids if you think about it. So with Madame Web rolling for the 3rd and final time, I learned a valuable lesson that day, which is don't see Madame Web alone. It's so much better with friends. So now that this journey was done, I needed to ask all my friends one more burning question. That is actually a perfect segue to the last question, which it just says, do you hate me?
I'm gonna hang up right fucking now, man.
No, because I feel like I learned so much from that experience.
No, not yet.
I could never bring myself to hate you, Tony. I will say negative emotions have arisen, and I will have to fight through those to maintain our friendship.
No. I think you're an idiot.
Oh, thank fucking God. Anyways, this movie gets an S tier on the enjoyment scale easily. I loved it. If you get anything from this video, it's gather your friends, see Madame Web in theaters while it still exists, and then never think about it again. It's so fun. Thank you so much for sticking with me through my hiatus. I'm fairly close to finishing up this huge experiment video, so that'll be really worth it, I promise. So stick around for that. It's probably gonna come out in like the coming months or whatever. I promise it'll be worth it. It is, I think, one of my best videos I've ever made. In the meantime, you can hit that subscribe button, help me in my quest to go from underrated to just rated, and don't forget to politely press that like button, as Sony has interfered with it too many times. There will be some other videos by my head, because if you like this video, you'll certainly like those. And with that, I'll hopefully see you in the next month or two. I do not know. I am working so much